All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Welcome to the webinar. We're going to be talking about how to boost sales performance and achieve a 5x ROI with ambition. We are very glad to have you here. My name's Kelly Berg. I'm the Vice President of Customers for Ambition, and my day-to-day looks a lot like what we're about to do here, which is talking to sales leaders about achieving their goals and what we can do to help them. So I'm really excited to share all the content with you. Before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping here, which is all attendees are on mute. So eat your lunch, go for it, drink your water, do whatever you need to do. We will be having a live fireside chat and Q&A at the end. So if you do have questions, please type them into the Q&A box, and that way I will be able to see them and can tee those up for the end of the presentation. And most importantly, you will receive a copy of this total economic impact report that we're discussing today, as well as the recording of today's webinar via email in the next 24 hours. So no need to furiously take notes. That's all coming directly to you. And the special teaser, so the second half of this, I will be joined by a wonderful Ambition customer, Adam Kahn, who is the Director of Inbound Sales for Jobber. And so you'll get to hear some sort of real life stories of Adam's experience with Ambition and what the Jobber team is doing to find a lot of success today. So look forward to that in the second part of the webinar. To kick us off, I will pass this over to Veronica Isles from Forrester.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Kelly. It's going to be a great webinar. So my name is Veronica Isles, and I'm a senior consultant here at Forrester in our total economic impact practice. And I have the pleasure of working very closely with Ambition on this project. So today's adventure, at least for our portion of the Forrester portion of this, it has 5 stops. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about the research and Forrester's perspective. I'll explain what is TEI, and then I'll pass it off to my colleague Courtney to take us through the customer journey, study results, and talk about some customer perspectives. So before Courtney digs into the details on building a business case for Ambition, I wanted to start us off by sharing some of Forrester's research. Last year, which I guess is no longer true because it's 2022, and the study came out in 2020, it feels like just last year, 3 of our analysts, Jennifer Bullock, Peter Ostrow, and Eric Zine, they published this report called The Pulse, Maximizing the Impact of B2B Sales Managers. And that research revealed that all of the components of the village required to train and develop successful B2B sales reps, the direct manager has the most influence on ultimate success. So I would probably bet that everyone on this call has probably had a bad manager at some point and can empathize with these reps. So this slide shows that 65% of sales reps think that their direct manager is more important than any other influence above any sales enablement tools, help from their peers, or any other manager role. And the most important interactions that reps cited were feedback on their interactions with customers, knowledge transfer through direct observation, being able to see their manager handle something well and learn directly from that, collaborating on strategy or getting help directly from managers on stuck deals, helping to navigate internal resources, so being able to find things when they need them. Attending customer meetings to close deals, that's pretty straightforward. And then individual training on specific topics or sales skills. So this is like education around industry, product, messaging. And this all seems fairly straightforward. And to get better outcomes from reps, we have to give them better managers. But therein lies the challenge. So you and I and your sales managers, we might all have the same number of hours in a day as Beyonce, but sales managers are juggling coaching, leading, selling, managing, and reporting. So this chart here shows the discrepancy between how sales managers are actually spending their time and how they would prefer to spend their time. And what we can see is that high-performing managers want to spend their time attending sales calls and helping reps close deals. Something that we know is very influential for sales reps, right? Being able to be on those calls with their managers is one of the most important outcomes for them. But instead, they are spending the most of their time, managers are spending most of their time forecasting, which is much more administrative in nature than being leadership oriented. So this brings us to the very topic of this webinar. And Ambition is one of the tools that can help managers get more time to spend doing the tasks that are most valuable. But before we dive into the results of Ambition's TEI study, I just really want to quickly touch upon what is TEI, if you're not familiar with it, or if this is the first time you're finding the acronym TEI. It stands for Total Economic Impact, and it's something that we began creating about 25 years ago, if you can believe it. Forrester has been helping our clients build these business cases for 25 years. And we do this because in one of our many surveys, Forrester absolutely loves surveys, we found that over 90% of decision makers say that it's important for them to have a next level business case. And this is a business case that makes an economic justification for an investment. And what I think is probably the most interesting and most important part of the methodology is we speak with several customers who have experienced a real measurable impact as a result of their investment, and we use that as a basis for our findings. So to walk us through the findings of the Ambition study, I will happily pass it off to my colleague, Courtney, who can take it from here.
Courtney, I think you're
You got to
muted.
take yourself off mute.
The classic Zoom conundrum.
Thank you, everyone. I am Courtney, and I'm a consultant with the TEI team. I'm thrilled to share with you the results of our conversations. As Veronica mentioned, we interviewed 4 individuals from 4 companies that were all using Ambition as their inside sales, rep management, and coaching platform. So we spoke to several inside sales executive team leaders and a revenue technology leader. The interviewees came from across the software industry, but we also had an organization in the utility sector. And they all had various subscription plan levels, so Recognize, Gamify Pro, etc. They faced a lot of challenges, lacking single version of truth, and especially when it came to the old coaching manual approaches, had a lot of pain points. As the senior executive in the software industry said, if I had to go back to the old coaching way, it would be brutal. So on the other hand, we heard that when thinking about how to turn that around, we moved from a brutal situation to a fun one. Another customer, the director of inbound sales at a software company, said that making the platform fun for the team was a really big part of why they picked Ambition. So on our next slide, I think what we have here is based on these interviews with customers, we took these experiences and their stories, and we created a composite institution so that we could convey what one might experience in terms of financial and other benefits. So again, it's really representative and grounded in the experience of all the interviewees while remaining anonymous. This is where you're going to want to pay attention to your own metrics and stats to start modeling your own potential benefits. So for these purposes, our composite is a $1 billion global B2B software company with 4,200 employees. It's the inside sales team that's impacted by the Ambition investment. So that's 420 sales reps and 42 managers, a nice clean 10-to-1 ratio. The average contract value is another key lever that we want you to pay attention to in your own modeling. For our purposes, it's set at $5,000, and that's specific to the inside sales team's positioning at the top of the sales funnel, where Customers are more in the information gathering stage. The composite's taking a land and expand approach to implementation, just like a lot of our customers. So that translates to a ramped adoption rate of 15% in year 1, 50% in year 2, and 80% in year 3. That rate also reflects the dynamic nature of sales teams. So we consider growth and turnover for both sales reps and managers. So something to keep in mind as well. So we definitely heard that revenue leaders need a single source of truth. And I think that this is something that, Kelly, you've probably heard a lot as well.
Yes. When we kind of start at the beginning of you envisioning either yourself in that composite organization or as a revenue leader for your own organization, it's something we hear time and time again as sort of the beginning of the journey of, can ambition help me? And part of that is this beautifully anxiety-inducing slide, as I've heard it described, which is a big piece of the puzzle where sales leaders are trying to solve many problems and trying to ramp those first-time frontline managers. They're trying to create a coaching strategy and consistency and build culture in the increasingly challenging world. And there's a lot of tools. So feeling overwhelmed as to what to buy or what to do with what you already have and how to actually view those things in one place and have that single source of truth is definitely a consistent theme that we hear from our customers. This sort of feeds into this next piece of the lack of time. We've heard some of those stats about the frontline sales managers. They oversee 80% of that sales workforce, and we saw the rep to manager ratio of 10-1. It's hard. There's not a lot of time in the day to do all of the forecasting and coaching and administration and all of the parts of being that direct frontline manager. And coaching is often the thing that goes by the wayside, whether it's not having time to prep for coaching and make it effective or just doing it at all. And Courtney can tell us a little bit about what their study found in these interviews.
Yes, we definitely heard that lack of time for frontline managers was the biggest pain point that every organization was facing. So that also led to a really pretty, we'll say, graphic description of the processes that managers were spending over an hour per rep for every meeting. And if we were talking about more than 10, and that's chasing stale numbers too. It's not even up to date and fresh. So, and we saw what kind of that labyrinthine and archaic data infrastructure looked like. So with ambition, we saw pretty impressive coaching efficiency gains. So another customer quote, the sales executive in the software industry said that ambition has given me an absurd amount of time back in my day. So let's put a fine point on that because it's kind of fun. For our composite organization, we figured with the 10-1 rep ratio that we were giving back 26,352 hours of high value resource time. So instead of chasing stale numbers in that anxiety inducing slide you saw, they're freed up to do the things that they want to do, the things that Veronica told us about. Things like spending more times with their reps, more quality coaching opportunities, developing their new hires, monitoring their sales calls. We also heard that other stakeholders in customers' organizations became interested in Ambition's results. So this additional time provided great quality stewardship opportunities and time to connect with other leaders and stakeholders across the organization, just further reinforcing, I think, the value that they're getting out of it. And then, it's all feeding into the top line revenue, which we'll visit in a moment. But they are now using those hours to do not the forecasting work, but the real analysis. So they're analyzing pipelines, they're identifying new opportunities and go-to-market strategies, as well as checking in on those deals at risk. So huge gains from a really bad pain point. So it's great to see that story.
Love it. And all of that great coaching certainly feeds into the sales culture. As everyone is acutely aware, things have changed over the past 2 years.
Yeah.
So that live coaching on a sales floor, or hitting your gong, or looking at your TV and the actual high five or the happy hour for a big deal, all of that is gone. And in addition to the remote and hybrid world, it's also this sort of great resignation that so many people are seeing with a really competitive job market. Reps can work from anywhere and, find a new opportunity seemingly extremely quickly. So the importance of the culture, encouragement, celebrating wins, and ultimately retaining employees feels like the stakes are incredibly high and really hard for a lot of those frontline managers to know how to do it, what to do, how to retain employees. I'll pass it to Courtney to talk through.
Yeah. So we heard a lot about the sales culture loss. And, first of all, let's just say that maintaining the status quo in light of such an unprecedented business disruption in and of itself is a win. So just flat good. However, after deploying Ambition, our composite organization, based on our customer experiences, improved retention by 25%. Using the tools and the coaching platforms and other opportunities within the platform, they were able to create avenues for collaboration that did not exist before, and two-way communication. So really empowering the reps and the managers on both sides. That adds up to 66 hires saved over 3 years. That's a significant headcount.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So another customer quote, I'll just say quickly describe what that meant to their managers. They could see who was struggling. This was the sales leader in the utility industry. He said, we could see who was struggling. That would have been nearly impossible to try to track if you didn't have the kind of instantaneous data that you can aggregate with Ambition and the communication that enables. So I think that kind of sets us up for the next pain point that we heard.
Definitely. Yeah, the limited line of sight. So both for your manager and your rep, does everyone have the context and the insight as to what are the expectations? Like thinking about onboarding a new hire in this moment in time. Like, do they know what a good day looks like? Do your managers know how to get them there? So it's kind of combines all these different pain points to say, is there risk to this? Is there risk to hitting your goals if people don't know what the good day looks like or what they're supposed to be doing? And then from that retention and coaching standpoint, if you don't have all of this information, are you going to know who's the future star, who is up for that promotion, who is a great person to focus development opportunities on? What are the trends happening with your deals? So not having this line of sight becomes even more risky to hitting your goals, hitting your profit margins, all of that kind of thing. So when we think about giving people that line of sight, it's about really impacting at the end of the day, the bottom line.
And that's what we're all here for, right? Type A sales reps, they want to see their numbers go up. And the sales managers and leaders we spoke to know that it's a numbers game. The more you put in, the more you get out. So as alluded to before, we were able to model a massive lift in those leading indicators, which we measured in daily dials, but our customers talked about, really interesting, very bespoke, I think, approaches to combining their KPIs to get that real-time, I think, visuals of success. So with Ambition, the composite organization was able to increase incremental profit, again, driven by that 25% lift in those leading indicators. In that process, reps manage over 20 million sales touches through Ambition. Again, it's a numbers game. The more you get in, the more you can get out. We want to pay attention to the win rate for the composite organization. Ambition helped to increase the win rate by 1% over the 3-year period. So as you're thinking about your own organization, do take a look at your own. This is a key ROI lever. So if you want to just make sure that you are hopefully having already some information on that. But again, it's really great to hear how this directly impacted the results for the customers. So the director of revenue operations technology in the software industry shared that, quote, ambition helped sustain the camaraderie on the sales floor in the office and at home. Seeing someone stay late, whether it's their avatar or their person, stay late to attain higher goals drives the healthy competition that contributes to the 17.5% increase that we had in activity and the subsequent growth in revenues.
Love that. And you teed me up perfectly, because when we think about the competing priorities and what that can take away from, it's like, yes, we've just talked about all the things we're asking sales managers to do: retain their teams, enable them, coach them, make sure the expectations are clear. That quote touched on a big part of being a sales rep, which is the competitions and the spiffs, and driving that culture through the activity metrics that are going to drive revenue. So when we think about the competing priorities, making the competition and spiff part of ambition automated, quick, a no-brainer for those sales leaders is something we hear all the time, that it's saving me time. It's enabling me to do more of these things that actually get those activity lifts to translate into profit. So Courtney can talk through what we saw on this competition side of the house too.
Yeah, absolutely. So top line, with ambition-driven automations and real-time access to data, managers spent 96% less time manually organizing and managing these extraordinary competitions. Kelly said it best: this is absolutely key for maintaining a competitive sales culture, and it's a top priority for all these managers. As we saw with the first benefit around coaching efficiency gains, interviewees had really decentralized, let's call it decentralized data systems in their prior sales environments. These systems overcomplicated all revenue operations, not just regular reporting. So if your day-to-day reporting is suffering to such an extent, organizations most definitely did not have line of sight nor capability to be able to develop a really ramped up special selling opportunity campaigns, other sales priorities. Again, you don't want to hear it from me. The sales executive in the software industry shared some of those great impacts, saying, quote, with ambition, we actually competed against teams in different offices that we've never even met before. They can go head to head like a tournament bracket, and you can see who you're ranked up against and their stats. And we heard that there's lots of type A reps who really enjoyed that visibility. So I think, just to recap, we modeled several quantified benefits, and we also uncovered some unquantified benefits. Again, this is based on current customers and applied to 3-year risk-adjusted costs. So the quantified benefits, now in descending order in terms of lift: the increase in incremental profit from sales lift. We have coaching efficiency gains, competition and spiff automations, and benefits around improved culture and retention. Again, in addition, there were unquantified benefits. Managers really enjoyed the automation of recognition triggers throughout the day, or special milestones, just being able to know that that was built into the system, set it and forget it, and make sure that your reps are feeling good. Some were able to reduce their sales cycle length or reduce manager ramp time. They hadn't quantified, but again, wanted to make sure that experience was represented. They're able to really democratize the data. Really vital success and business insights that were often gated before are in the hands of both the seasoned reps and the new ones, so they have a better idea of what success looks like for them. And overall, it streamlines the technology stack. So again, if you're calculating this for yourself, we want to make sure that within that 3-year period, you're counterbalancing the cost. We modeled costs, including the licensing and our onboarding for ambition. And then we also included internal costs related to the deployment and the ongoing operations of the solution. So another kind of summary slide I think we might have next up is just to let you know, at the end of the day, when we plug things in, we saw a 3-year return on investment of 515%. We had total benefits of $4.8 million and a net present value of $4 million. Did I say 4.8? Yeah. So the net present value is that the total benefits minus the costs. And for your model purposes, we do use a 10% discount rate because $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow. And just again, to wrap it all up, I really think that this quote points to some of the benefits of how Ambition can support these managers. So the director of inbound sales in the software industries told us, I lead a high volume inbound team, not an enterprise team. We can't afford not to drive activity. Ambition is amazing. They took all the need to know figures of a dashboard and made it fun. Sales is the only job where you lose more than you win, so everyone counts.
Love that. Thank you, Courtney.
Thanks.
So now we actually get to hear it from an actual Ambition customer, which is amazing. So I'd like to welcome Adam, who is the Director of Inside Sales for Jobber. So Adam, if you could give us a quick intro to you and to Jobber.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks, Kelly, and thanks for having me. I guess to start with, I'm joining from my house just outside of Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. For those that know where that is, I live here with my wife and my 2-year-old son. I've been in tech and SaaS for like the better part of 10 years now, and honestly selling for as long as I can remember. I joined Jobber about 4 years ago, and it has been a wild ride ever since. And so I've been here through both our Series B and Series C rounds. And so Jobber is a job tracking and customer management software for small home service businesses. So to give you like an example, think about the person who cleans your house or paints your house or a lawn care company. We basically provide them all the tools that they need to run their day-to-day. So quoting, scheduling, team management, customer communications, all the way through to invoicing and getting paid. And so as a company, we're really focused on our mission, which is to help those people in small business be more successful. And it's a really fun and deserving market to serve. I think we all know that, small business is the backbone of our economy, and honestly such an underserved market when it comes to like the tools and technology available to them. And so it's really an honor to get to serve that market. For myself, so in my role as director of inbound sales, I'm directly responsible for our account executive team, and then myself and a partner oversee our entire inbound sales organization, which is responsible for the majority of our customer growth. So directly, I have a team of 6 managers who under them have about 40 account executives. My partner on the sales development side is about the same. And our job is to drive that customer growth year over year for anyone who's putting their hand up in any way saying, hey, I'd like to know a little bit more about Jobber. And for us, super high volume, lower value process. And so we talk to a lot of people every day, and we move people through the process pretty quickly, which means, all the things that you just went through with Courtney definitely hit home for me. We really have to balance the inputs and outputs that are required from our team. But that said, it gets so routine, right? You're making, 50, 100 calls every day. Day to day can really start to blend together. And so we really try to focus on that culture of fun and driving a lot of recognition and really focusing on that mission of helping our customers in everything that we do.
I love it. And you've done such a good job of sustaining a great culture while you're in growth mode too, which is even harder to do. So kudos to you for that. Well, thanks for the intro, Adam. And so you can see on this slide here, this is in general what we're going to cover, and certainly some room for Q&A too. So if something sparks your interest throughout, feel free to submit it there, and we'll do some questions at the end. So to level set and start off here, I'm going to ask Adam to think back to the pre-Ambition days, which by now feel like a while ago, but tell us a little bit about what rep performance management and coaching looked like for you guys before you started using Ambition.
Yeah, this was actually really fun to think about. So going back, I think when we signed on to Ambition, our sales team was about 40 people, which, to give you context, is about the third of the size that we are today. it was myself, my director, and I think two, maybe three other managers doing everything. We didn't have sales ops, we didn't have an enablement team. It was all of us doing everything. So my job then, I was a frontline manager leading a team of, I think I had 11 account executives at the time. And I was responsible for hiring, training, ops, enablement, call reviews, development, coaching, all of it. And it was busy. 11 folks definitely need a lot of your time. And so, yeah, my day to day in terms of like rep management and coaching, like I was really focused on like how can I give my team the insight into the numbers that they need to know their own business. And so I had spreadsheets that were linked to other spreadsheets that I was updating daily for my team, so they had their numbers. If I wasn't there, honestly, there's times they were probably flying pretty blind. I was trying to sneak call reviews in between that, and like each manager was different too. We got a lot of feedback from the team at the time that like being coached by me was very different than being coached by another manager. And so the process wasn't consistent, and people wanted what I was doing, and other people wanted what the other manager was doing. And like me and the other managers didn't have time to get on the same page. And so to put it, I guess, to sum it up, we were all over the place. We were running all over the place and still managing to do really well, but definitely not the most organized.
Yeah. And in terms of where your teams worked, when you guys bought Ambition, you were squarely in the office, right? And what's happened kind of since then?
Yeah, so we had our head office in Edmonton, where a majority of our sales team was, and then we had a smaller office in Toronto where a different dedicated sales team worked. And we were fully in office with no designs to go outside of that. And yeah, obviously things changed pretty quickly a couple of years ago when the pandemic hit. I remember I think I was watching the like game when the NBA got called off, which was the sign everything like was coming to a halt. And so I think like every team, we were worried, right? Like you worry about all these things because we all desire control. And so it was like, will my team be productive? Will they actually be working? Will they still have the tools that they need? Will they still be able to learn from listening to others around them? And thankfully, we were ahead of the game with some of the tools that we brought in, like Ambition. And so our managers were already focused on the right things because we had the right tools and process in place. And so it was a pretty seamless transition. I'd actually argue that we're more productive working from home now. And we have no intentions to go back. We still have two offices. The situation in Canada, we haven't been able to reopen those yet. So we're still all working remotely, and we're a fully hybrid company now. So there's no, people don't have to go back into the office. They'll just be there if they choose to.
Yeah. It's very similar to Ambition too, and what we're doing with hybrid forever, which is really cool. Well, thanks for kind of setting the stage a little bit. And it was really interesting to hear about the challenges you were seeing with the coaching and the consistency and all of the tasks that sales management was really focused on and responsible for. So when you did pull the trigger on Ambition and get things spun up, like what were some of the first impacts you noticed, whether your time was getting saved or you were seeing some excitement from your reps?
Yeah. So I think like the first thing, I'll steal a term from earlier, was like that democratization of data. Like we really wanted everyone to have that insight into like, not just like what, the average of good looks like, because I always say there's 1,000 ways to get to quota, right? You can be the high activity rep with a lower close rate, and you're still working on your skill set, or you're, a really effective rep and you might be lower activity, and both of those things are fine. You just need to know that number. And so getting those numbers in front of the reps, I think was huge in terms of the impact that they saw in terms of control over their output. And so that was huge. It drove a lot of rep engagement. Personally, I was a manager on the front line then, so like I got so much time back. I got to kill many spreadsheets, which was a very happy day.
Yes.
And I got to spend my time on those high value activities like call coaching. And, in a sales process where we don't often get a second shot, we're coaching to make sure that the next time, things go better. I got to do that more often, and we saw improvements on the rep side of things. And then, driving that culture of recognition and fun. I can't overstate that, like, sales is the hardest job in the world, in my opinion. Like, you have to, get yourself motivated enough to pick up the phone to get rejected a majority of the time. And so anything that we can do to make it a little bit more fun and give people the recognition they deserve, I think is super important.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. When we think about the coaching and making it more consistent and having your managers, spend time on the right things, what does it look like for you guys today? Like, have you been able to build that consistency?
Yeah. So when I interview for a manager, I literally say that this is a coaching role. This is like, that is your job entirely, and anything outside of that is extra. And so ultimately their job is to make their reps more successful. And so with coaching and consistency, the coaching module and ambition allows us to run the same check-ins no matter who your manager is. So we have those consistent processes in place, and each manager manages differently. They approach the conversation differently, but we're at least asking the same questions in the same way all the time. And then as well, for those managers, they're not spending, 6, 8, 12 hours a week running data and spreadsheets. They just save an analytics report and ambition. Even better, their reps save it for themselves.
Mhm.
And they come to that conversation prepared to talk about their own metrics, their own KPIs, how they're performing themselves. And I think that's huge. One of the people that I learn a lot from is, I think he worked with Ambition at one point, is Kevin Dorsey. And
Yeah.
his saying that you can't manage a number, but you can manage behaviors. And I think what's really helped with Ambition is we get to focus in on the behaviors, because we don't have to spend so much time trying to figure out the numbers side of things. That's right in front of the reps, and they have what they need.
It's so true, where the transparency and the access to data is so great. Like, I use it, as a leader, as a manager, all the time, but my reps do too. They're checking their key activities and their accolades and the leaderboards, and so that's something that I notice every day too. In terms of data transparency, like, what types of data are you guys using? What are your reps looking at day to day? What are your managers caring about?
Yeah. So as you know, every rep has a scorecard of like activity that this is what good looks like every day. And so we really push the team to own their own number, right? Like, I talk a lot about controlling what you can control, and how that helps with, your mental wellness when it comes to being a salesperson, right? And so if you know your conversion rates from dial to connect to opportunity, opportunity to one, your average selling price, et cetera, you can build a very clear map of, for you, what does success look like? Not for like the average rep at your company, but for you, what do you need to do personally, and take that personal accountability. So we use that a lot. I think my favorite Ambition analytics is the quadrant graph. So being able to like clearly show the correlation that, like, hey, I'm not telling you to dial more for my own health, or because I think that's, a number I picked out of the sky. I can show you that if you do that, it'll correlate to more success on the back end. And like, being able to take the emotion out of that conversation and just make that a data-based conversation goes so far for building engagement and buy-in from the reps.
That's awesome. And it was perfect timing. I took that question live, which was the most important business metric Ambition helps you influence. And I think I agree with you, that quadrant of being able to see is the output. What's the output doing? What are the outcomes, resulting in? And it helps you really coach on that tailored one-to-one basis. Very
Totally.
cool. When it comes to the culture side and building the great culture of recognition and keeping a culture alive, as you've 3x'd the size of your sales team, what are some of the, fun things that you do, whether it's competitions or amplifying wins? How does Jobber approach that?
Yeah. I'm thinking about this question, reminded me of like when we first got Ambition. This was more an in-office thing, but we used to have like static dashboards up on TVs everywhere, and honestly they were probably more anxiety inducing than fun. And so the TVs were the first thing we really focused on. And I remember our co-founder came up to me one day and he was like looking at a TV and the Ambition trigger had just gone off and played a ridiculous video. And he's like, so these people basically took dashboarding and made it fun. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, that's so simple and so smart. And it went so far. Like in the office, the team used to like, you know, groups of them would pick the same video as a trigger to try to get it to play more than the other group. But since we went remote, obviously I had to change that up a little bit. So we use Slack. We created a celebration Slack channel that replaced the TVs for us, where, you know, triggers go off through the day when a rep does anything well. Our company-wide sales Slack channel that everybody's in. If any single team or team member does anything really impressive in a day, they get recognized through an Ambition post in that channel. And yeah, in terms of competitions, we always try to mix it up, pairing folks up into teams, doing kind of like poker style contests. I love giving stuff away instead of cash because people always remember things. But I think the one that's actually gone the furthest with our team is we do competitions all the time where instead of a prize, your manager takes your desk over for a day.
Nice.
So they do your job, they make your calls, and you get to go spend a day doing development on whatever you want to focus on. And so that one's gone a long way with the team. And running those through Ambition is like literally 5 minutes to set it up and then set it and forget it. And it just runs. And it's so great because that used to be hours in a spreadsheet.
I love that idea. We might be stealing that at Ambition. Thanks for all those examples. I always think about new hires when it comes to culture too. You know, we have that going on at Ambition, just bringing in new folks every week, every other week. And I think about for your new hires, they must be excited to have something like this in place where they're kind of walking into this very celebratory culture and they know from the get-go, these are the expectations for me day in, day out. What's happened with that? Has it helped their ramp time? Is it helping build culture for new folks? Like, how do you use Ambition with those new hires?
Yeah, I think the best gauge for this for me is like if for whatever reason sometimes the sync between our Salesforce and Ambition gets a little slow, I
Mhm.
have like 35 Slack messages different channels, and it's always the new folks who are on top of it because they just
Yeah.
like love that transparency. And so the teams become super reliant on it. And I do, you know, check-ins with new folks after they've been here for a little while, and the thing that I hear most consistently is like from places that they've worked previously, that idea of what good looks like every day and just having that transparency, it helps reduce just that anxiety and stress of every
Mhm.
day. It's like, okay, the outcome didn't come today. You didn't hit what you wanted in terms of outputs, but you did everything that was expected of you. You left no question unasked. And it really allows folks to trust the process and see that it works and create that buy-in really early on, especially when they can go look at like, hey, who's the top performer on the team? I want to be that person. And
Mhm.
they can see exactly what they're doing in terms of numbers to get there and decide if that's how they want to model their approach as well.
Yeah, that's interesting that like peer-to-peer transparency can be really cool for that type of coaching or mentorship too. So yeah, I love that for a new hire. One of my favorite things as a department leader is automating things that I used to pull manually, which I know you've touched on a little bit. But how great to not have to pull 5 Salesforce reports on Friday to like celebrate the wins of the week. So for you personally, like what are some of the like workflows or efficiencies or things that are really helpful to you?
Yeah. I guess first and foremost, I coach all of my managers through Ambition.
Hmm. Yeah.
Our weekly kickoffs, we've actually gone completely asynchronous with those. Those used to be in person, but now they fill their check-in in. We go back and forth in the comments. And then when we actually do meet, instead of just running through like Q&A, we actually get to the meat and potatoes or just spend some time catching up personally because we've gone through that sort of like, okay, here's the basics that we both need to be informed on and actually spend valuable time together. And especially since being remote, you know, I've hired 2 managers that I've never met in person, right? And so that personal time becomes so important. And when we can check off some of the boxes on, you know, the day-to-day data that I need to know, what's going on with their team, prior to actually being on a call together, then we get to use the time together so well. And then as well, like I get daily reports on like activity across the team, just make sure that I'm tracking trends and if anything is looking off on that side of things. But I think my favorite part is maybe not so much automation or workflows, but just being able to ask a rep or a manager if they've looked at the data themselves. And we're obviously very lucky at Jobber. I have a fantastic analytics team that can build me whatever insight I need and whatever tool I want. But like, I think if you're going to work at a startup, you need to be an analyst yourself. And Ambition gives you that single source of truth for every rep in our sales org to be their own analyst, to run their own data, to check on things themselves. And so, there's lots of like recognition that we automate that makes my life for sure a lot easier, that I don't need to be manually doing those things. But I think that's my favorite piece, is just being able to ask people if they looked into it for themselves, because they have access.
That's awesome. Yeah, the democratization of data. That's my new favorite phrase, I think, from today. So really cool. If you want to flip to the next slide, actually, this kind of shows the one pager of Jobber's journey. So some of the challenges toward the start of the relationship, why you were buying Ambition, and then what you guys did. So with scorecards, coaching, TVs, competitions, workflows. I wanted to dig in a little bit with you on the improvement in SDR activity, so that actual productivity lift that you guys saw from the jump. And just like tell me a little bit about that. Like, how did it increase excitement? How did it make people actually want to be accountable to that scorecard and that good day?
Yeah. So we were working with Emma at Ambition. I think our first quarterly check-in, she came and hit us with this number. And like, I don't even know that we noticed it at first. Like, we knew it trended up, but to see it that significant in the first quarter was really awesome to see. And I think what really happened was like that piece that I talked about previously, that buy-in that it created, was like, we have a couple of top performers and everyone's like, wow, I can't do what they're doing. They're just like, whatever, they're better, they're luckier, they get better leads, whatever the thought that came into folks' minds. And then when they saw that, like, okay, these are the two people that are consistently at the top of the leaderboard for activity, and they're also pushing the highest results, like, it took that mental excuse away that, I can't do what they're doing. It was like, well, take that excuse away for yourself, hit activity at their level. And then if you're not, then we'll dig into the data one level further and see where you can focus and drive results from there. And so it was almost a thing that just happened naturally on the team by like having that scorecard of every day, hey, this is what's expected. And then being able to benchmark yourself against your peers of like, this is what they're doing to get the result, I got to get myself there. And the team just sort of naturally started driving that higher input, which was really cool.
Feels really empowering for the reps. I think that's really cool. And then before I jump into questions, because I'm already getting a good one in here, I love that you guys do culture engagement surveys, and would love to just hear a little bit about Jobber's philosophy on that generally, and then what you have seen, with your own sales team in that process.
Yeah, so we've kind of, as a company, we've got a great people team who's really focused on, everyone from our CEO, like, culture is the number one thing that we focus on as a company. And I think it's the thing that makes us who we are. And so we do an annual survey on, culture and engagement. And our sales team scores, and I know this isn't the case for a lot of orgs, our sales team scores amongst the highest in the company across the board. And one of the places that we really focused on after bringing in Ambition was the recognition piece. And we've seen year over year increases on how the team feels about recognition since bringing in Ambition. And, being able to have a Slack trigger that says, hey, you did this really great thing in a day, we saw that. And then their manager can jump on that thread and give them kudos, or our VP of sales or CRO can jump on that and be like, hey, that's really awesome, and give them a little high five. And that goes, it seems trivial at times, I think, to some folks, but it's for people who love that type of public recognition, it goes so far. Just to get that little shout out, and really can change the behaviors that folks put in to get there. And so really great to see that our team is feeling good and feeling good about being at the company and really well engaged, and that we've been able to add a tool that has been able to help support our focus in that area.
Yeah, that's so great to hear. Well, thank you for all of these insights. And I do have a question that came through. And for anyone else, please feel free, if you have questions for Adam, to submit them. This question is about coaching. So, what coaching questions are you using in Ambition that spur the best conversations between you and your reps?
Yeah, they're like not groundbreaking, honestly. It's like the first question that I think goes in every check-in is like, hey, let's recap your numbers over the last period and get them to own that number. And that's not for me, it's for them. Like they need to go in and learn the data and learn how to read it and build that business acumen. But the three that I are my favorite is like just like what went well last week, what got in the way, and then the most important one for me, and being a big believer in how important the mental wellness of your people is like asking them what they're doing to take care of themselves this week. And so again, I think I borrowed that from another sales leader, but I love that question because it's like, hey, what are you doing outside of work to like, I don't expect you to be the best of yourself every day at work, but how do you set yourself up for success to be the best of what you've got available that day? And is that like, I talk to folks about their running or their workouts or their reading, or like they're taking a weekend to go spend time with their kids or whatever they need to do to be the best of what they got available. And so those are the ones that I think are the most impactful, is those pretty simple questions that, and then it's digging in from there, right? Put your questioning hat on and dig into the answer that they give you.
Yeah, and it's amazing how if you don't have those types of questions, you're not going to get the information because everyone's remote. So that's like a good accountability tool for manager and employee to make sure that you are doing that check-in. So I love that. The next question that came in is, I love the take your desk for a day idea. Do you have any other fun competition or incentive ideas that you could share?
Yeah, what have we done recently? I love giving stuff away, and the reason I pick stuff.
Tell us about the stuff. What's the stuff?
I know Ambition does a really great one for this, so maybe you want to share that one. But we usually do like, so over December we did like a holiday themed spiff, and if you won, you got to pick from like a Marriott gift card or an Airbnb gift card or a Yeti cooler, like things that like people won't ever buy for themselves if they got an extra few $100, but if they get it as a prize. Like one of my reps, I know every summer he goes camping with his Yeti cooler, and he's like, all my friends are like, where'd you get this crazy cooler? And he gets to talk about work, and he gets to remember that feeling of winning. Or like gave an Apple Watch away one time, and now like that rep always talks about like, yeah, it's just a good reminder of that win. And so stuff for experiences, I think, are the things that people remember every year. But the Ambition one that you guys do, the billboard, I think you do there was one around sea turtles or something, I think one time.
Ambition has done, the billboard was a big one. So actually giving away billboard space was really fun. We've done our CRO, we were actually just reminiscing about this, did a haircut of your choice. So we got to watch his wife give him what he called the Friar Tuck haircut over Zoom that he had to wear for a month. So yeah, trying to go off the wall with it is pretty motivating and fun for the reps.
We actually got our CTO, if there was a company milestone, if we hit it by a certain date, he shaved the Jobber logo into the back of his head.
Incredible.
For a week. And it was, the team really rallied behind that one.
That's fun.
The embarrassment is good.
Yeah.
I give people my Slack handle as an option to win.
Ooh.
If you're going to do like low cost prizes and you don't have budget, like give them your Slack handle or your Zoom background for a week. And they came up with some really fun stuff. they made me sing once, which was not fun. So we try to do some like no cost ones, and they love embarrassing, their managers or me or a couple, levels of leadership up. So if you can have fun with it that way.
That's cool. We've had some team competitions where the winning team got to choose gifts for the losing team, so that when their ambition triggers go off, it's a surprise as to what that gift will be. So another fun one. Okay, I think my behind the scenes folks are letting me know we're nearing time here. I loved ending on the fun competition ideas for sure. Adam, thank you so very much for your time and for all of your insights. And it's really great to hear all of the successes that you're implementing at Jobber and what a fantastic culture you've built. So really appreciate you taking the time to share with all of us.
Thanks, Kelly, and thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for attending today. We hope you learned something here, and we will absolutely send you this recording and a copy of the Forrester Total Economic Impact Report. And I'd love to hear from any of you, so feel free to reach out to me directly if I can help with anything ambition related, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your Thursday. Thank you all so much.